Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Krista, and you are on the Why Am I Yelling live video broadcast. I don't even know what to call this thing. I never know what to call it. Anyway, my name is Krista, and I am a parenting and relationship coach, and I help parents navigate the exciting path of raising children by addressing the fear, embracing the milestones, and encouraging a creative and positive family dynamic. I am also the creator of the Why Am I Yelling brand, which is my blog and my website. I have a Facebook group all over Twitter and stuff. And I'm in the process of writing my first book, and it's almost done, so it's kind of exciting. And I love to do this show because it allows me the opportunity to meet some fantastic moms and dads who share the same passion and a lot of the same ideas and ideals that I have. And I met our lovely guest today through social media, and we kind of bonded and connected, and we've had multiple chats prior to this one that we're about to have today. So I would love for you guys to welcome from me, Monica Boreu. She is a certified life coach and positive discipline parenting educator. Whew. And she's a stepmom to a preteen boy, and we all know how that is. She's committed to helping parents create rock-solid relationships with their adolescent children and redefining the problem years of adolescence. I'm going to stop there because I want Monica to hop in and chat with us. So I'm so happy to have you here, and I want to know all about your positive parenting and how it works and how you came to this place and found this passion. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting. There is a bit of a delay, I think, and an echo, and I keep hearing myself. So I'm going to take this off so I don't get distracted because I keep hearing myself. But we'll figure this out.
Right. This is all like this is fly by the seat of your pants, folks.
What's that?
It's all good.
Okay. So the way I got into this, it's actually a pretty personal story. I was raised in a pretty strict household in my childhood. During my childhood, I felt pretty misunderstood and really disconnected from my family. And it created like a schism within me, right? Like an insecurity within me. And as I grew up, I didn't understand what I wasn't connecting with other people, and why relationships weren't working. So it started becoming like a personal quest for me to really understand what was going on within me. So I started really looking at my family history and trying to connect the dots and see why was I so different from everybody else, right? Like to me, I personally felt like I stood out like a sore thumb when everybody was happy and in a committed relationship, and my relationships wouldn't work out, right? So it's really a personal quest, and through my quest, I really found out that it all really stemmed from the way that I was parented and the connection that I had with my family, and how misunderstood I felt, right? Like I never felt like I really had a deep connection with my own family. So fast forward to now, I basically went and got trained, and I went through my own personal discovery to really understand myself better, and also the kind of parent that I was in the future. So I have a preteen stepson, and when we first came into each other's lives, that was shocking. Like I became an instant mom overnight.
Right.
So that triggered a lot of things within me, and I didn't know what to do with them. I felt like the biggest a-hole on the planet, It triggered memories from the way that I was parented, and I wasn't okay with it. And so I did the work. I actually went and I got trained to really understand how this whole parenting thing works. And it's been a powerful journey. It's been an amazing journey. It hasn't been easy. So I got to point that out, because a lot of people say, oh, you're a parenting coach, you get it. I'm like, no, just because I get it doesn't mean it's easy.
Right, that I get it, right.
Or I don't have problems in my house.
Right.
So, yeah, and that's how I pretty much got here. It really started as a personal quest to not repeat the cycles that I grew up with. Because I was okay, and it really affected me. It affected me, and I wasn't okay with it. It bothered me, and I realized, through my journey, how how we pick up our parenting from our parents, and they picked up their parenting style from their parents. So it became clear as night and day to me that parenting is really just a cycle, right? We repeat patterns that we've been taught and grew up with to an extent, or until we awaken and say, you know what, like I will reach the end of this cycle and I'm gonna change things up. Because I see the impact. So I felt the impact of my parents' parenting style, and it didn't feel good, you know, and I was very aware of how it affected me. So
I think that is
change. I didn't want to pass it on anymore.
Yeah, I think that is a testament to the kind of person that you are, right? Because that gives you, I mean, I think it's great. You're a stepmom. You know, I know plenty of people who come into a step role and they don't take the time to really, you know, learn it, right? And it's important. It's important for the communication of the family. It's important for the family dynamic. It's important for all of you.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I love that you jumped in with both feet and embraced it and are, you know, doing an amazing job with that role. And then, you know, taking it to the next level and really making it your life and making it your business and making it your priority.
You know? Absolutely. It's not easy. And a lot of people say, you know, it's, you know, you're half-time parent, you're a step parent. And I've met all types of parents who don't understand this, you know, and even the work that I do with some parents, I tell them, you know, like this work isn't easy and it's not meant for the faint of heart. Parenting isn't meant for the faint-hearted.
No.
It takes guts and glory to really do it. But once you put the time in for it, it's really, it's so worth it. And the rewards are so monumental and they multiply. Like I know that what I'm teaching my stepson, he will learn that and pass that on to his kids. Like what a better gift to give someone other than, you know, passing down these unconscious, unaware negative cycles that we kind of blindly react to and operate from.
Yeah. I think it's so important. And I think, you know, you and I were having a conversation before the broadcast, and I want to talk about it a little bit more because, you know, we were talking about tips and stuff, and I'm not a big tip person either. I believe in, you know, here's a method and here's, you know, how we use it. It's not a tip. But I like the idea of, you know, acknowledging their feelings and making them feel like they matter, right? And you work with teens especially, and so, or with parents of teens. I don't have teens yet. I mean, I have a preteen, so I'm kind of close. So I want you to talk about, you know, what we should expect in the next couple of years, and how you feel like the best way to, you know, embrace those years, because a lot of parents are afraid of the teenage years. Right? I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, you hear the worst. You hear that your kids are turning into these people that you know, don't recognize or won't understand. And now there could be a significant other coming into the picture, or there's, you know, there's a lot of different scenarios, right? So let's talk about, you know, expectations, how to set expectations, you know, setting expectations for parents who are, you know, currently in our shoes. We've got preteens, they're on the cusp. What's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years?
World War III will happen, so get ready for it. There's no
every day,
and it's something that I really try to let parents know. It's not going to be the end of the world. The only thing that I ask parents to really be prepared for is to really take a look at themselves in a way that they haven't had to yet. Because when we have kids and they're little, to a certain age, we get to control them. We have a say in when they eat, when they sleep, you know, what they're doing, because you have to when they're that age. Otherwise, they wouldn't survive, right? But then there comes a breaking point, and that really starts around, it starts fairly early, but you don't really start really noticing it until it hits you like hard in the face, and that's around like 8, 9. That's like the preteen years, and 9, 10 especially. And if you have a highly spirited child, they will test their boundaries because that's their job at that point. That is their purpose in life at that point.
Yeah.
Great way to babies from the mom did everything for me phase to, hey, I'm a whole human being all on my own. This is kind of cool. I need to figure this out.
Yep.
And the only way they figure this out is by testing boundaries. We did it, right?
Yeah.
And as parents, it's our job to continue to control them. Because when we do that, then we're actually stifling and limiting their spirit. And we're all unique spirits. We all come with our own personality. And as parents, we have this fear. We have many fears. We have a fear that we're not good enough, that we're going to screw our kids up, that our neighbor is going to say something and judge me for raising my kids. Like we have all these brain fears that we're going to suck or that our kids are going to suck. And they're going to tell us about it later. And all I can say is, in order to not have that fear, take a look at the energy that you bring to the table. How are you operating as a parent? Where are you operating from? Are you operating from confidence or fear? And if the answer is fear, then there's work to be done. And that's okay. You know, like we're not taught to be parents. We're taught to be everything else in life. If somebody says, hey, here's a parenting course to really help you understand your child. Because there isn't a cookie cutter solution for everybody. It's different. And once you understand the foundation of it, that's not given to you by your past family, then you have a different understanding of who you are, where you're coming from, and how you're parenting. So I say brace yourself because it's really not your teenagers that are going to cause you to get really worried or anxious. It's really a trigger within you. That's been there well before your kids came along. And your kids are actually poking at it to remind you that, hey, you need to do this work. You haven't worked on this part of yourself. I'm here to remind you that I need you to be a whole and a wholesome parent for me. But in order for you to do that, you need to work on this stuff. And as parents, we don't look at it that way. We look at it as, oh my God, you're a little jerk. You're pushing my buttons. Just sit down, do what I say, follow. No, it's full because we're scared. Because now they're pushing buttons and we have no idea what the hell to do with it. So,
I love that. I love that because you know, it's important. It's important to, you know, I talk about it all the time with my parents too. And it's like, you know, from a very young age, you have to, you know, acknowledge their feelings. And even though, like you say, you know, we have to do the work. It's important as parents to do the work. We don't just have kids and, you know, parenting is very different from when it was, you know, when I was a kid 40 years ago. Right. And it's, you know, children are they're more seen and heard. And when we were kids, it was like, oh, you know, off to the wayside, not off to the wayside, but it definitely wasn't as, you know, communal, in households, right? It wasn't, how do you feel? It wasn't, like, nobody ever asked us the questions, right? They never said, how do you feel? Or this is valid. Like our conversation before was, don't cry. You shouldn't be crying. You know what? Yeah, you can cry. It's okay to cry. And I encourage crying because that's actually a good thing, right? So I love that because teaching parents that that's okay is a really important tool, and it's an empowering tool. And it's, you know, I don't think that we walk into this job, because it is a job, realizing that, you know, a lot of us, you know, like when you have kids, when I first got pregnant, I was like, oh my God, I'm raising a human being. It never crossed my mind to say I'm raising a baby. I'm raising a full-on person. And that's how I started my parenting journey. From the womb. And it was like, okay, how am I going to make an impact on these kids' lives? And what are the things that I'm going to take with me from when I was a child? And what are the things that I'm going to not take with me? And how am I going to change? And how am I going to put in the work? And I think a lot of parents don't really think about that when they go into wanting to be a parent. So I love that you emphasize that, like you emphasize the work has to be done. And, you know, there are things that you're probably going to want to change from your childhood, and you might not even realize them until you actually become a parent, right? I mean, that's
Absolutely. I mean, it's the perfect trigger. It's the perfect storm.
Right. So,
and it's not that parents don't want to do that. I just don't think they've really been aware. They haven't been taught to pay attention to these things because they're operating from a premise that they grew up with.
Right.
You know, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what I've been taught that life is supposed to look like.
Right.
You know, find a partner, get engaged, married, buy a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have a kid.
Right.
It's very systematic.
Right.
And it's what society and culture has taught us.
Yeah.
Along with, you know, be strict with your parent, with your children,
yeah.
and control your children, and make sure that your children do as you say. You have,
right.
And people get this wrong impression of what discipline really means. Discipline right. isn't punishment. Because nobody really learns through punishment. How many people go to jail every day, get out, come right back,
and do the same?
You think jail?
Yeah.
Like, why do we have return?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't teach real long-term lessons that way.
Right.
And same with children. You know, I was talking with a client last night, and she's like, my kid laughs in my face right now when I take this phone away. And I was like, why is that? She's like, well, I've done it so many times. He's like, oh yeah, Mom, like that's weak. That's weak.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Take a better lesson.
So the more you enforce punishment, the less you're really going to teach a lesson, and the more repeat behavior you're going to have. So what I really teach parents is how to connect with them, and really not look at your parenting journey as a role. Like, you don't have your role isn't a parent. When you look
right.
at the relationship that you have with your kid as a role, you're immediately entering this I'm bigger than you, no more than you, you should listen to me type of
right.
mentality. But when you enter it as a relationship and you look at them as your equal value, like you're
yes.
not going to give your
yes.
10-year-old the keys to the car.
Right.
But you will take their being into consideration, right? And you will listen to them when they say they don't want to do something. Figure out why. Right? Like, the end goal isn't for you to get somewhere on time.
Right.
And we get caught up in these things. But
right.
if the end goal at the end of your life, have this rich and fulfilling relationship with your kids. You know, it's not for them to be your puppet and to do as you say, because you're scared and you haven't really explored how to connect with someone outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
I think that's why kids are really a gift, and because they really do make us take a hard look at ourselves. And what better person to really have in our life to teach us that, you know, to bring the best out of us.
Right.
They'll bring the worst out of us before they bring the best out of us.
Of course they will.
We need that, you know?
Yeah.
It's part of the transformation process.
I think it's a great conversation to have. I think, you know, I have a preteen, he's 11, he just turned 11. And we have always, with both of my kids, we've always communicated with them like they are our peers, really. You know, they don't get to make all the decisions, but they certainly have a say in some of the decisions we make as a family. They have always known from like day one, like the boundaries, the expectations. We're very big on setting expectations and letting them understand how their day is going to go and how this goes. And I really feel like, you know, like my 11-year-old, he's in the 6th grade and he navigates New York City by himself every single day. But I wouldn't feel comfortable allowing him to do that if we didn't have the relationship and the understanding that we had when it was time for him to go into the 6th grade and take his Metro card and go on the bus. And I say this all the time in all of my conversations. And it's like, I had a 10-year-old who was on the bus by himself in New York City, but he does it because we trust him. He trusts us. We have that kind of communication. We have that kind of relationship. And I know people that don't have that, and they're working toward it, and it's a goal, and it's, you know, something that we all have to put the work into to achieve. And we're all, you know, created differently, right? We all have a different chemistry, a different makeup. So, and some kids, like you said, are a little bit more spirited than others. But eventually they're all going to be adults, and, you know, you want them, and it's not even so much that you want them to be like you, right? You want them to be like them. And so encouraging them to be themselves and allowing them that freedom, I think, is so important. And I love that you engage in that message, because I think it's a big one.
I love that you brought this up, because I think that's actually a big problem. All parents say that they want their children to be themselves, right? Like we have the best intentions to foster that growth within them and that independence with them. But the minute that we're faced with it and we don't recognize ourselves in them, we freak out.
Right.
Because who is this thing?
Yeah.
How many parents have you heard, I don't know who my kid is. I don't know who my kid's like. They don't even look like me, act like me. Right? So we have the best intentions, but when we're actually faced with them, we flip out.
Yeah.
And we usually flip out on them, and that adversely affects them to such a huge degree. And, it's interesting because parents struggle with the spirited word, right? Like, my kid is spirited, which really means my kid's a nut job and they are crazy and independent and they're challenging me and I don't know what the hell to do with it.
Right.
But that's what they mean. But
that's funny.
I always assure parents, I would rather you have a spirited child than a compliant child, because a compliant child has already lost their own essence. They have traded in who they are to satisfy you, to avoid conflict and to avoid pain. They weren't allowed to have the room and experience to test their own boundaries and test their own essence, who they are, because you shut it down. Don't do this, don't do that, you got to do this, right? Like, we come up with all these controlling ways. And every time we do that, we're robbing them of their essence. And then we say, oh, my little Johnny is so good. He's like the most amazing kid ever. If you're saying little Johnny is good because he does everything you want him to do, you've just set up that kid for future failure and years of therapy. And I'm not even trying to be funny. It's true. We rob our kids of their essence when we control them to that extent.
Right.
So I would rather parents come to me and say that they have a spirited child and they want to learn how to support them.
Right.
Rather than shut them down.
Right.
Or up.
Right. I'm taking notes. I think it's very important, and it's been interesting for me during, like, my whole thing is I have one very spirited child, my little one, and I have one who, not that it's not that has not been spirited, has not, tested the limits, but he is definitely more, it's just in his makeup. He's more compliant. He likes to follow the rules. And it's not, and I think it's more only since he started school. It's not from being at home, because I don't really think that we're strict parents, but he's seen other children. That's the other thing. Like, he was in daycare from a very early age, and he saw other kids getting in trouble for, misbehaving or acting out or doing whatever. And when you're managing a room full of 40 kids, you might have to, do a little bit of that. So I remember saying this to my husband very early on when he was young. I'm like, he doesn't like to get in trouble. And so he's going to do whatever it takes to not be the kid who's in trouble. He's very sensitive. He's just that kid, but he's also very smart. And so his opinion matters. And so he will definitely push back on, that's not what I believe in, or that's not how I this. So I think it's really interesting when, and my kids are completely opposite. And so it's interesting when there's a very different dynamic between the two of them and they're 6 years apart. So I shouldn't do this, but of course you compare. It's like, that one didn't do it when he was 4. How come this one does? It's like, you can't help but do that.
Right.
So yeah, I think that statement that you said is so accurate. Don't control them. Allow them to, test the boundaries and push the limits. And then we have to find a way to, engage and make it work for all of us.
Support them through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I say don't control them, I also don't mean let them get away with murder. I don't mean become a parent and let them walk all over you.
Right.
I just want to clarify that, because some parents get the misconception that if I don't control them, then I'm just going to let them do whatever they want, and that's not true.
Right.
That's permissive, and the opposite end of the spectrum, permissive and then controlling. So the happy medium is in the middle, which is positive discipline, which is what I teach. The happy medium is kind but firm at the same time. So it sounds something like, you know, I love you, and the answer is no. Right. Or you get to set the boundary with them, not for them. And I use the word with in a lot of my coaching. And I encourage parents to work with their children. Yep. You know, make decisions with them. Yep. Have conversations with them. With them. Not yep. about them, not yep. at them. Right. Right? Like include them, like something happened. Figure out why that happened. Like all behavior is motivated by something. Yep. Right? Like what's the motivation behind behavior? If your kid's smoking pot, what made him smoke pot? Right. Like, don't just come down on him and say, "Oh my God, you're grounded. I can't believe this." Right. You know, try to understand what's going on. Right. You know, like what's motivating their behavior. Right. A lot of kids at that age, they just want to. I just want to know what it is. Kind of crowd right. that's smoking and drinking, they're probably going to smoke and drink as well, just to fit in. And right. the only reason at that point they want to fit in, one, it's because you're going through that phase where you're trying to figure out who the heck you are. And two, they have a stronger sense or urge to fit in if they don't feel like they belong and feel significant at home. Right. And belonging and significance are like the biggest drivers, motivators in all human. Mm-hmm. It's not just in children. We all strive to fit in into of course we do. Society somehow, especially within our family. And as children, your family is your primary, thing. Yeah, that's where you should belong. That's where you have the room to be who you are. And when you don't feel like you can belong there, and I'm not saying fully, but you can't trust your mom because if you help with it, flip out and now you're grounded. Yeah. You can't trust your dad because he's going to yell. If you don't have this strong sense of connection and trust, they will do things behind your back because they're really trying to find themselves. And most kids will do it even with the knowledge that they will get punished for it. Right. So it's so important to have that strong connection. And everybody talks about connection. They just don't really know how to do it. They don't know how to do it at the child level. Right. And it's not easy. A lot of parents say, I totally get what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. It's just not easy. I was like, well, no, it's not easy. Like I said, it would be easy. Right. But it's the necessary work that you have to do if you want to have this kind of relationship with your child. Otherwise, you're consistently going to bang your head against a wall and have a strained relationship, which will later, it will later turn into a huge power struggle and a much deeper disconnection in later in life. Yeah, I agree. I love this. I agree. Thank you for sharing this with us today. Thank you. I know that you have some stuff that you also want to tell us about. Monica is doing a really great workshop right now, and she is throwing a promo out there, you guys. So you should take complete advantage of it. Her stuff is so good. So tell us a little bit more about that. And Jackie will put up the links in the chat box so everybody can get access to it. And then when we're done with this, I'll send you the link so you can share it out with your group also. Awesome. Yeah, so like you said, I actually just released a 3-week workshop. I didn't just release it. I released it about 3 weeks ago, and we're coming to an end. So it was a beta version. I wanted to test it out with some families and parents and see how it's working out for them, see how I can even improve it even more and make it more robust. So I'm actually relaunching at the end of January, maybe February. I don't have a hard date yet, but I will definitely let you know and your audience know when that comes out. But what I'm offering for viewers that stayed online with us is a quick crash course. And quick is about 45 minutes to an hour. A quick crash course into peaceful parenting, and to lay that foundation of what it really takes to connect with them, what's getting in the way of connecting with them, and how really your own energy and what you bring to the table is actually causing all the behaviors parents are facing. Parents come to me and they say, tell me how to make this behavior stop in my child. And I said, okay, well, I'll work with you. I don't work with teenagers because it's it's really what you're bringing to the table and the energy. The energy is so palpable, right? Like everything that it's palpable, but we can't see it. So we don't really know how we affect them. So my offer is a $37 crash course into peaceful parenting, where you'll get all the information, slides, video, worksheets that will really begin the process for you, and it will actually prep you for the 3-week workshop that I'll be relaunching in the new year. And as a promo code, for anybody that stayed on or signs up through your link, I will offer them a $50 discount towards the workshop that's coming up in the next year.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that. I don't know why I can't see it on the chat. Jackie doesn't see it on the chat. So it's not, I don't know what's happening. So I'm going to.
love technology.
I love it so much. It's like, oh my gosh. I've
been hearing it echo this whole time. That's why I've had to take out my mic.
It's like, it doesn't stop. So I will put this out, we'll package it up and we'll send it out to you so you can share it with your people. I'll share it with my people. Awesome. It's got all of your links and everything to your website and your promotions and all that stuff and how people can get in touch with you to work with you. I cannot say thank you enough for being here. It has been my pleasure to have you.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. It was so much fun, and I'm so glad that I get to share the message with your audience as well. And I think we're quite the powerhouse together, and I think we're on a mission to really help parents navigate this whole adolescent phase.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I wish you and your family a very happy holiday. I hope you guys are doing something fun over the break.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we will we'll talk to you soon. I'm going to take us off air.
Absolutely.
You don't go anywhere.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for watching.